Most employee handbooks sound very clear when you read them. I mean, they look polished, they sound professional, but the real test of a policy isn't how it reads. It's whether someone can recognize it in the flow of their work. Because if employees can't see the standard in the moment, then the policy only exists in the handbook and not in the workplace. Welcome back. I'm Bridget C. Lewis, and this is AI in HR, the RockstarBoss15, where we spend 15 minutes walking through one prompt, one tool, or one practical process that makes small business HR easier and more effective. Last week, we talked about benefits communication, how to take something complex and make it usable for real people. Today, we're going to stay in that same lane because there's another area where communication clarity matters just as much, and that's policy communication. And specifically, what happens when policies are technically correct, but not actually usable in real life. Let me show you what I mean. You've probably seen this before. A manager says to an employee in a performance review session, "I'm afraid you're just not meeting expectations." And the employee responds, "Well, no one told me that was the expectation." And now HR is in the middle trying to sort things out. And if we're honest, this is where things start to go sideways, because most organizations believe they have performance standards, but what they actually have are value statements. Be professional, show initiative, meet expectations. Those sound great, but what does that actually look like at 10:30 on a Tuesday morning? That's the problem. They're not observable. And if something can't be observed, it can't be managed consistently. So then what happens? Well, each manager has his or her own interpretation. Employees are caught off guard when they learn that they're not meeting the expectations, and HR is spending time re-explaining again what should have been clear from the start. Friends, that's not a people issue, that's a clarity and structure issue. So let's reframe this. Human first policy communication does not mean you soften expectations. No, it means let's make them clearer and unambiguous. A strong policy must answer three very practical questions. What does this look like in behavior? What does it look like in output? And what does it look like when it's not happening? Because that last one, that's where most policies fall apart. When those three things are clear, managers don't hesitate, employees don't guess, and HR isn't translating or cleaning up after the fact. So that, my friends, is the upgrade that we're building today. As always, I'm going to start in Microsoft Word because the real work doesn't happen when you hit enter in AI. It happens before that in the structure of the prompt. And I'll say this every single time because it matters. If you're learning how to use AI well, this is the part that you want to pay attention to, because experienced users already know the quality of the output is usually decided before the AI ever sees or runs the prompt. So let's take a look at this one and see how it's built. We here build our prompts on the RockstarBoss HR snapshot, which comprises three parts. And at the top, you see the business profile. You've seen this in each session before so far, so I'm not going to break it all down again today. Just enough to say this section gives the AI context, who we are, where we're located, who's involved, what's happening. That's what the business profile does. And once the AI understands the environment, everything else is going to get sharper and clearer. Today, we're going to spend a little bit more time in this section right here. That's the operational challenge or the problem section, right? So let's say that we're working with a nonprofit organization. It's a small organization that's very mission driven and they have very tight resources. And the role that we're looking at today is the program coordinator. And the policy says something like this. Employees are expected to maintain professionalism, demonstrate initiative, and support program goals effectively. Sounds really good, doesn't it? I mean, We're not going to argue about how it sounds, but if we pause for a second, we begin to yearn for clarity, because what exactly does demonstrate initiative actually look like on a busy day? In a nonprofit organization, that could mean 10 different things depending on who you ask. And that's exactly where variability has crept in. So we purposely did not design this prompt to simply rewrite the policy. It has a much more important job to do first. It's going to diagnose the language, because when the language isn't specific, people will do what? They'll fill in the gaps based on their own understanding. And that introduces, inconsistency. Different managers have different interpretations, different outcomes, all for the same situation. So we're asking the AI to do these three things. First, identify the abstract phrases, the ones that are open to interpretation. Second, translate those into observable behaviors. And third, give us some examples that managers can recognize during the workday. Because we're not trying to make this sound better. It already sounds good. We're trying, though, to make it usable. Then at the end of the snapshot, we have the desired output, what we want the AI to produce for us. In this case, we're asking for observable behaviors, early warning indicators, and a policy-ready revision. This section keeps the output focused and usable. All right, the structure looks good. So let's see what happens when we run it. We've already dropped the prompt in, and we've already run it. The first thing you'll notice right at the top are the clarifying questions. This is one of my favorite parts, because instead of having the AI guess at what we're asking, we're having it ask us clarifying questions so that it can have a clear understanding of what we need. So it's asking questions like, does this apply across all departments? Are there existing expectations that are already in place? What level of independence is expected in this particular role? That's the AI slowing things down just enough so we can get it right. And as we move down, you'll see that it's beginning to identify the abstract language. Words like professionalism, initiative, and effective support. Again, nothing at all is wrong with those words. They're just not specific and measurable. So the AI is translating them. Now, instead of demonstrates initiative, we get things like identifying program issues before deadlines are missed. That's very specific. Communicating delays in advance, not after. Taking action on assigned tasks without repeated follow-up, right? Very specific behaviors that can be assessed and measured. Now we're getting somewhere, because those are things a manager can actually see and an employee can actually follow. You may also notice it includes examples of what it looks like when expectations are not being met. This is huge, because that's usually where HR gets pulled in, right? After the fact, after things have gone haywire. And finally, it gives us a clean policy revision so that we have now the methods to upgrade our policy so that things are more measurable. Now, we're not just going to copy and paste this into our new handbook, and we've got a new handbook that AI helped us develop. No, we're reviewing it, because AI does not define the standard. What AI gives us is a clear starting point instead of a vague one. AI is not making the decisions. It is not setting the expectations. That's still leadership's responsibility. What AI is doing is helping you say what you already mean, but saying it in terms that can be measured in a way that people can actually use it. And that's the difference. Human first policy communication doesn't lower the bar, but it makes the bar visible. And when expectations are visible, managers become more consistent. Employees are not caught off guard because they now know what the expectations are and understand them. And HR spends a lot less time cleaning things up after the fact. So here's the key takeaway. If your standard cannot be observed, then it's not really a standard. If you want to eliminate variability and inconsistency in your policy communication, then define the behaviors, clarify the output, and translate the language into something people can actually follow. And you can use AI, as we just did, to help you draft it, but keep ownership where it belongs, and that's with leadership. And if today had you thinking, yeah, we've got a few policies like that in our handbook, you're not alone. Stay with me, because better systems build better workplaces.
You're